Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I welcome all the witnesses and guests to our hearing on VAWA today. I supported enactment of the original VAWA Act that was in 1994 and have voted to reauthorize the grant programs authorized by VAWA multiple times. When I wasn't able to support a Democrat-led effort to reauthorize, I introduced my own proposal that would have protected and enhanced the program. This year, I again led my colleagues in sending a letter to the Senate appropriators urging that Congress continue to prioritize funding of the VAWA programs. In previous years, when I sent similar letters to appropriators, Senator Shelby and Leahy, leaders of the appropriators, were incredibly responsive to my requests and supportive of these programs, so I want to thank them for working with me to champion the funding. As a member of this committee, I've made it a top priority to champion related measures to expand the rights and services for victims of intimate partner violence. This year, for example, I joined a number of committee members in co-sponsoring legislation to ensure that the Crime Victims Fund will receive an additional $1 billion in deposits each and every year. Services to the victims and survivors of intimate partner violence, sexual assault, and child abuse are accorded priority funding under the Victims of Crime Act, which created this important fund. In 2016 and again this year, I also worked closely with young sexual survivor, assault survivor Amanda Wynn and the organization she founded on bills to enhance the right of sexual violence survivors in criminal justice system. In early 2018, I led this committee's effort to press the FBI for information in response to allegations of sexual abuse lodged against Olympic athletes against their former team doctor. I've been seeking justice for victims of Larry Nassar's abuse, and I have some timely questions for DOJ, who refused to attend our hearing last month about accountability for those who failed these victims. As former chairman of the committee, I also worked closely with Senator Feinstein on legislation to impose mandatory reporting requirements on coaches and instructors who witness abuse when working with young athletes. I also sponsored and led this committee in approving legislation to renew and update the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, as many of the victims of sexual trafficking also are victims of intimate partner violence. I worked with Senator Cornyn on the Justice of Victims of Trafficking Act, shepherding it through this committee in the Senate, and led our committee in approving a measure sponsored by former Senator Hatch to make more resources available for the victims of child pornography. Renewing and extending VAWA is our next priority, and that's why we've convened this hearing today. Before we begin, I want to take this opportunity to mention now that it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month, that it's important that we adopt an extension of VAWA. A Senate-passed reauthorization could include the language on which we've reached consensus, and meanwhile, we could continue to engage in negotiations on additional important reforms and updates of VAWA. I also want to recognize several of my Republican colleagues who are not members of our committee, but have joined us here to testify today. Senator Ernst, Hyde-Smith, Capito, I thank you for being here, and I'd like to thank Ms. Monaco for attending today's hearing on behalf of the Department of Justice.